In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a short time-lapse video using your Nikon D5200. You're going to need a few things in order to do this. First of all, of course, you'll need your Nikon D5200. Secondly, you will need an 18 to 55mm lens. You probably have one of those. Thirdly, you will need a good, sturdy tripod. And lastly, you may need an ND filter. We'll talk about that in a minute. Don't go away. Hi, I'm Barry from Photographer's Freedom. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for checking out this video. I've come down to my local beach today to do this time-lapse video for you because it's a beautiful day. We've got the waves rolling in. There's a beautiful sky over there in the background. We've got the rocks. This is going to be an awesome time-lapse video. We've got people walking past, which are also going to provide movement for our time-lapse. That is a very important thing that you need when doing a time-lapse video, is you need movement. It's no point doing a time-lapse of things that aren't moving. So this scene is perfect. So you want to choose a scene where you've got, say, cars driving on a highway, waves rolling in on the beach, people moving around, anything that's moving, the sky. A time-lapse of clouds moving across the sky can look absolutely awesome. So let's get right into this. Now, because your camera is going to be taking a lot of frames and it's going to be doing it over a long period of time, there are two things you want to make sure of first. You want to make sure that your battery is fully charged and that you have space on your SD card, because we're going to be taking anywhere from 240 shots to a few thousand. So make sure of those two things first. Now, I mentioned that you may need an ND filter. What I've got here is a variable ND filter, which means that I can dial this in to change the amount of light coming into my camera. The reason you want to use an ND filter when you're doing time-lapse is so that you can use slower shutter speeds. Your individual frames want to have a little bit of motion blur in them. It'll make your time-lapse more smooth and look more realistic. If you have sharp frames where all the motion is frozen, your time-lapse won't look as good. So on days like today, when it's kind of overcast and a bit gloomy, you may get away without using an ND filter. You might just be able to close your aperture down to let less light into the camera, but picking up an ND filter is a good idea if you're going to get into this seriously. I've put links in the video description to a couple of ND filters just like this one that are popular on Amazon. Those are affiliate links and I may earn a commission if you purchase, and I thank you. As far as your camera settings go, you want everything to be manual. Do not let your camera control anything. So this includes your white balance. Do not set your white balance to auto. You want your white balance set to either daylight, or on a day like today, you may want to adjust your white balance manually. I've done a video that shows you how to do that. I've linked it in the card above here. You want to also be in manual mode so that you can control your ISO, aperture and shutter speed. And you want your focus to be manual as well. Do not use autofocus because your camera may change focus from frame to frame. So set your focus to manual. And I'll show you how to dial that in just a minute. So let's take a look at the settings within the camera here. So I'm in manual mode. You can see by the screen here that I'm in manual focus as the focus icon here is grayed out. I've got that switched on my lens. You can see there it activated to AFC. On my lens, I've switched it over to manual focus, so I'm controlling the focus. I've got my white balance set to daylight or direct sunlight. That should be fine for today. Now you can see my ISO is at 100. Now I'm going to change my aperture to f8. And my shutter speed is currently at 1/15 of a second, but I haven't dialed in the exposure yet or framed up my picture, so I'll do that and we'll get back to the camera settings in a second. So I'm just going to talk here for a minute about dialing in your focus, and then we'll talk about shutter speed. Now you can see my battery's almost dead, so I'm going to have to change my battery in a second. Now, in order to get the focus right, because you're using manual focus, the best idea is to switch over to live view, and then you can zoom right in and you can get your focus set. So we'll try and get that swimmer before he goes away. Oh, there we go. So that looks to me like everything's pretty much in focus in the distance there, so that's pretty much fine. Those trees look sharp to me. So when you zoomed in on live view, you can move around the screen and then make the edges of things look as sharp as you possibly can. The other way of doing this is to go back to autofocus and then choose a spot, say those trees for example. Let the camera focus if my battery hadn't died, and then switch back to manual focus. Okay, so now we're back with a full battery. I've dialed in the focus with autofocus, let the camera do that, switch back to manual focus. Now I can zoom in and just check it. Looks okay to me, although I might actually tweak that a little bit because I don't think it's as good as it could be. There we go, that will do. So I've kind of tried to frame this up a little bit so I can see a little bit of the sky over there to the right because that's got some colour, and I've still got the rocks, and hopefully we'll be able to see the waves rolling in and the clouds will move a little bit. So now what I need to do is dial in my exposure because you can see I'm overexposed here. Now because I've got the ND filter on, I can just turn the ND filter and that will dial down the exposure. You can see it coming down there. So if I dial that all the way down without getting any crazy vignetting, which you can sometimes get with ND filters, with variable ND filters. So I'll just dial it back up a little bit and then down a little bit, and that's okay. So 1/15 of a second is a shutter speed that I tried yesterday and it worked nicely. It gave just the right amount of motion blur. I have heard other people on YouTube saying half a second shutter speed, but I think that might create too much motion blur, and my ND filter won't dial down that much to let me use that shutter speed. So 1/15 of a second is what I'm going to be using today. Now, if you go into your menu now and into the shooting menu, which is the camera icon, and you go across and up, you'll see interval timer shooting is grayed out. Now it's grayed out because I was in live view, so I need to go press the shutter button, go back to live view, close that down, go back in, and you'll see now we have interval timer shooting is active. So you press your OK button to go in there. So you can see in this first page of the interval timer shooting, we can choose our start time. You can either choose it to start now, so that'll start immediately, or you can choose a time. Now in order for you to do that, you must make sure, of course, that the clock in your camera is set correctly. We're just going to choose now, and then you go across with your multi-selector. This page is for your interval. This is how often the camera is going to take photos. So you've got hours, minutes and seconds. So at the moment that is set for 2 seconds. So I might set it for maybe 1 second, I think, and leave it at that. Now because time-lapse is a video, we need to think about frames per second. For this time-lapse, we're going to do it at 24 frames per second. That's a standard frame rate. So that means there are 24 still images to every 1 second of video. So it's just simple math to figure out how long you want your time lapse to be and how many images you'll need to take. So for 1 second of 24 frames per second video, you need 24 images. So for a 10-second time lapse, you will need to take 240 images. You'll need 240 frames. For a 20-second time lapse, you need 480 frames, and so on. Now you can take up to 999 frames with the interval timer shooting, so that gives you about 41.6 seconds of video, if I've done the math correctly. I didn't do it in my head, I did it with a calculator off camera before. So it's about 41 seconds is the longest time lapse that you can do at 24 frames per second. Now on the last page here, this is where we set the number of times. This is the number of photos that it's going to take during the interval timer shooting. So for our 24 frames per second video, we want to take 240 frames for a 10-second exposure, 480 frames for a 20-second exposure, and so on. You just need to do some simple math here. So I'm just going to do a 10-second exposure, so I'm going to leave that at 240. So now to start this working, all I need to do is go across with the multi-selector, and you'll see it says start on off. I just go up to on, I press OK, and it says timer is active, and you will hear the shutter start to fire. Do not touch your camera or the tripod at any stage during this process because you will ruin some of your frames. Also, if it's a windy day, you may want to weigh your tripod down with your camera bag or something else. Now you can hear that that's just finished. Do not turn the camera off yet, just because it's processing the images. You'll see them come up on the live view screen. So you can see the camera there is processing the images. Up here it says 88 of 240. So just leave it until it's finished doing all of that process, and then your time-lapse images will all be stored in your SD card. So while I'm here, I thought I'd try some different settings in the interval time of shooting. So what I'm doing at the moment is I've got it set to take 1 frame every 10 seconds, and I've pointed the camera more out to sea, so I've just got the waves and the beautiful color in the clouds there. So I'm gonna see how this works out. I'm taking 240 frames again, so I'll get a 10-second time lapse, but because I've taken 1 frame every 10 seconds, the time lapse will take place over a much longer period of time. It's compressing a longer period of time into a shorter period of time, and this math does my head in. Now that we have all the images in the camera, the job is only half done because we have to edit our time lapse. So I'm going to go back home and I'll show you how to do this in Lightroom and Photoshop, and I'm also going to use DaVinci Resolve. If you don't have any of these programs, don't freak out. There are ways that you can edit time lapses. I'm going to talk about other programs that are available to you to help you do this. So once this camera is finished doing what it's doing, which could be, I don't know, half an hour from now, I'm going to go back home and we'll do that part of the video. All right, now I'm back at home and I've got Lightroom open and I'm just about to import my images. Before I do that, it's a good idea to look through each frame and see if anything is amiss. I've noticed something already through one of these. Down here at number 51, I actually stepped in front of the camera. I have no idea why I did that, but so I'm going to uncheck that so I don't import that. Now, what you'll notice here also is I've got .nef files. This means that they are in raw image quality files. If you've shot JPEGs, that's fine. I shoot .nef, and it's a good thing that I did because these images seem to be quite underexposed, but I will be able to bring them back when I edit them in Lightroom because they are NEF files. So I'm just going to click make sure that none of the other ones are really bad. So you can scroll quickly through the whole lot if you like. I'm not going to do all of them. I'm just going to take a quick glance, just make sure there's no other frames where I've stepped in front or anything else has gone really strange, but that seems fine. So I'm going to click import, and that's going to take a while. So I'll skip to where that's done. Okay, that took a while. I'm a little bit older, but it's all good. So as I said, these are a little bit underexposed. So what I'm going to do is edit the first one, and then I'm going to sync all the settings across the whole 239 photos I have now because I had to delete that one where I was standing in front of the camera. So I'm going to scoot over to the develop module, and we'll up the exposure here, maybe about 2.5, I think is going to do that good. I might bring the shadows up a little bit too, just that will be good. Maybe give it a bit of contrast, a bit of vibrance maybe. We'll go about 12 on the vibrance, maybe about 2 on the saturation, 3 is too much, 2 on the saturation. I don't like to use a lot of saturation. It also looks like my horizon is not level, so I'm going to adjust that. This is what you should check when you are actually on location. That looks a bit better. Okay, so now what I'll do is scoot across to the end, hold shift and left click the last image there, and I will click on sync. That will bring up this synchronize settings window. Make sure everything you want is checked and click synchronize, and that will copy that edit across the whole bunch of images and they will all look the same. So there we go, they are all looking the same. The previews haven't loaded yet, but it has actually done that to all of the images. Now with them all selected, I'm going to export them. So I come up to File, Export, and I'm going to burn full-size JPEGs to the hard drive. So I'll choose my folder here. I was in D drive, YouTube, active videos, time-lapse, Sandy Beach, and we'll go in here as well. I'll create a new folder, call it first time-lapse edits maybe, and then we'll select that folder, don't put them in a subfolder. I'll have to change the resolution to 72 pixels per inch because we don't need 240, and click export, and that's going to export all of those images out. And then once that's completed, which will take a while, we can open it up in Photoshop and create our time-lapse video. So we'll come back when this is done. So with that done, I've now opened Photoshop and we need to bring those images into Photoshop. So I just click on open and I find my folder, just make sure I'm in the right folder here, time-lapse edits. Now all I need to do is select the first image and then come down the bottom here. You can see it says image sequence just above the file name box there. Just check that box. That will open these as a sequence. So it'll ask us about the frame rate. Now it says 23.976 there. That is the same as 24 frames a second. Yours might say 24. If it says 24, leave it. But I'm using 23.976, which is the same as 24. I'm not going to get into that right now. We click OK, and it says this sequence has gaps. I don't know why. There's something that has gone awry with our export somehow. So what I might do is just check that. I'm just going to see if the images, if something's happened to the images. It might have exported a blank frame or something. I'm not sure. No, they're all good. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but let's see what happens. We'll click open again, select the first image, check image sequence, open them. 23.976 is fine. Continue. And it should open this view in Lightroom. If it doesn't, you can go up to Window, come down where it says Workspace and to Motion and check Motion, and that will bring up this layout. So at the moment, this frame size here is the same size as the image from our camera. So what we want to do is change that to a nice 4K video size. So what we need to do first of all is, before we can convert this, we need to come over to our layer, right click and convert it to a smart object. So do that, and then we can go up to image size, canvas size, and select pixels in here, and we want 3840 by 2160, which is the size of 4K video, and click OK. And it'll tell us that clipping will occur. We can proceed. Now we can resize this to fit the frame. And you can see we're going to lose some at the top and the bottom, but it's no big deal. So I might leave it there, maybe lift it just a little bit higher so we've got a little bit more sand in there. And that is looking great. Now all we do is come up to File, down to, where is it, Export, and down at the bottom we see Render Video. Just click that and it'll bring up another dialog here where we need to do a few things. We can name our file. I'll call it Sandy Beach Time Lapse 1, and make sure it's going into the right folder. That will do. And here are our video settings here. So this format, you can leave it H.264, that is fine. The preset, we leave it high quality. There are many others in here. If you want to play around with them, you can export at 1080, 24 frames per second, you know, whatever you like there, but we're leaving this at high quality. There, our document size is the same as we set it, so we're going to leave that, and our frame rate is at 23.976. That is fine. Click Render. And this will take a bit as well. This will also take a while. So, you know, I'll come back when it's done. Okay, this is exciting. Our time-lapse video has exported, so this is where we get to see if all of this effort was worthwhile. Now, so here it is. I think, is that the one? I think that's the one I just did. I've got two in here. That's the one. Let's watch it. And there we have our time-lapse video. Now it did have a blank frame in there. There was a black frame, I've noticed. But apart from that, it looks pretty good. The sky is moving gently across, and the waves are rolling in and that swimmer was going across in front of the camera. That's pretty impressive. So that black frame I can just cut out in the video editor later on. Now I'm going to show you how to do the same thing in DaVinci Resolve, which is an amazing video editing software that is completely free to use. It does have a paid version, but you can get the free version and simply use that. And the free version has so many amazing tools for video editing. It's just insane. If you're not going to do a lot of video editing, I wouldn't recommend getting it because it is a steep learning curve. You could spend your whole life learning how to use this. And while I'm talking, I've opened the wrong project. Let's go into 10-second time lapse here. And actually what I'll do is I'll create a new project here. So we go new project. I'm going to call this Sandy Beach. Yeah, beach time lapse, and click create. Now you want to come down here to the bottom right to the settings icon there, and we're going to set this at 4K resolution and 23.976, same as before. And that is pretty much all you need to do. Click save. Going to go to the edit tab here, into the media pool, right click and import media. And then I would just go to the folder I have my images in. So my time-lapse edits, I'm going to Control A to select all of them, click open. That will bring them in. Now there is one setting you need to be mindful of here in DaVinci Resolve, and that is how long the images will be when you pull them down to the timeline. So you go up to DaVinci Resolve and Preferences and the User tab, and then under Editing, I think it was, down here in General Settings, you have Standard Still Duration, and I've got it set to 1 frame here because I was doing that before with other time lapses, so that is okay. But if it was set for something else, you need to change that to 1 frame because that's what we want each of our images to take up. So we go back to the media pool, Control All to select them and simply drag them down to the timeline. And I'll just select them all by zooming out to the full timeline. Just select them all. Come up here to the inspector and zoom up until that fills the frame so it will look a bit better. And I might just bring it up a little bit to the same framing we had before. And that looks pretty good. And then I can come over here to the Export tab and find the folder I want to put them in. Where is it? Here we go. Please excuse the next door neighbour's dog. If you can hear that, that thing barks all day long and drives me insane. Sandy Beach DaVinci Resolve, we'll call it, and save that. And then down here you can select your video settings. So I'm going to say MP4 is fine, H.264 will do. It's in 4K at 23.976. The quality settings you can just leave to automatic if you want to, and then add to render queue and then render all, and that will render it out in the same way Photoshop just did a minute ago, and it will look pretty. It will look very pretty. Now, one thing I did want to say about time lapses is sometimes you can get flickering in your time lapse when you do them. I'll just show you one that I did a couple of days ago. I think it's in here, 10-second time. Yeah, here we go. Now, we'll watch this here, and you will notice if you look at the blue sky, see how it's flickering? Like there are sudden changes in brightness. Now that is due to, from searching I did on YouTube, that apparently that is due to the blades of your aperture not resetting to the same spot exactly every time. So when it takes a photo, the aperture blades move a little bit, and that lets a tiny little bit more or a little bit less light in and creates differences between frames. Now, you can fix that in Lightroom by before you edit everything, right, before you edit anything in here, you can select all of your images, which I already had them selected and just unselected them, and then go up to settings and come down to match total exposures. Now this is before you do anything over here in the develop module at all. You don't do anything. Do this first and then edit, change your exposure, highlights, whatever you want to do. That matches them all to the same exposure, and that can help rid the flickering. If it doesn't, I will show you how to do it in DaVinci Resolve in a second. So that's finished exporting, so we can go and look at that one. Over here, where's the DaVinci Resolve one? There we go. Looking good. And that one doesn't have a missed frame, which is great. So looking even better. All right, so to get rid of the flickering in DaVinci Resolve, I'm going to go to the time-lapse flicker project, here. Now, I've done this before, so I'll just delete those. So you've got your video in here with your flickering. So what you do is export your time-lapse, re-import that video into DaVinci Resolve, and now you can click it in the timeline, hold Alt and drag it up to a new video track, and then get your playhead to the start, go forward one frame, pull your second duplicated video track one frame to the right, and then go up with it selected, go up here to your inspector, down to composite, excuse me, and change the opacity to 50%. And you will see now when I play this back, it probably won't play back very well because my computer's not really keeping up well, but you'll see the flickering is greatly reduced, if not removed. And if I export that, I'll just pop it out to the desktop. Flicker, leave those settings as they are, that'll be fine. And I'll render that out. And you'll see that the flickering is almost completely removed, though it does give the water a sort of a smoky, ghostly look, and I love that. I absolutely love that. You might not want that effect in your videos, but I really do like it. So that is one way of removing the flickering. Now you can see here in this video, see this darker blue area in the sky up here, and also this darker sort of corner down the bottom. That is because of the ND filter. I turned the variable ND filter too far. You really need to be careful with them. If you're going to purchase one, just be mindful of that. So where's our flicker movie? So if I open this up, you'll see now that the flickering is kind of gone, but our water kind of has that smoky, kind of soft look. I love it. I think it looks really cool. There's still a bit of flickering in there. What you can do is then go back to DaVinci Resolve edit page, and we can duplicate this video file again, go across another frame, pull it across, and with this third duplicated video track, reduce the opacity to 25%. And that will then give you a lot smokier look to your water, but it will remove the flickering pretty much altogether. So that is how you get rid of your flickering. But luckily, with this video that we just did, we don't have flickering at all, and that's great. And you may not have that with yours either. It really depends on the day, the conditions, and like I said, it's caused by your aperture. So you may or may not get it. But I am pretty happy with that time lapse. I think it looks pretty good. I also edited the second time lapse I took while I was down the beach. It didn't turn out as good as I'd hoped because my focus was a little bit off, but it still looks pretty good. Check it out. Enjoy making your very own time lapses. It's a really cool type of photography, and I've been having a fantastic time with it the last few days, tweaking settings and figuring out what happens and what makes what do what. It's really great, and the results look really cool as you've seen in the video. As usual, there are links down in the video description to everything I've mentioned here, the ND filters, the programs to edit your time lapses. There's a link down there to my Sirui W2204 tripod. It's the most amazing professional tripod. I've used it for many, many years. It is expensive, but it's the last tripod you'll ever have to buy. All of those links down there, oh, not all of them, but some of those links down there are affiliate links, and I may receive a commission if you make a purchase. For that, I thank you. I'm Barry from Photographer's Freedom. Get out here, take some great time lapses. I'll see you soon.